Look at a map of the United States, and you'll see millions of acres of protected wilderness. Places like Yosemite, with its towering granite faces and endless forests, draw heavy foot traffic every year. But there is a stark statistical reality to these sprawling landscapes. Thousands of people walk into them and simply disappear. Most of those disappearances have clear explanations. People get lost, succumb to the elements, or fall victim to animal attacks. Conventional search and rescue teams know how to handle those. But there is a specific subset of cases, categorized by researchers as missing 411, where that logic breaks down. These refer to unexplained vanishings in national parks that display highly anomalous, repeating patterns. When data analysts cross-referenced the strange behavioral patterns of these cold cases against other databases, they didn't find a match in criminal records or wildlife attack statistics. Instead, the closest behavioral parallel appeared in the archives of reported alien abductions. To understand how these two wildly different subjects intersect, we have to map out the data. By isolating the top 25 statistical overlaps between missing 411 records and abduction literature, we can build a chronological timeline of a textbook anomalous event. Realizing that a wilderness vanishing and an abduction claim share an identical sequence of events forces a reevaluation of the data. We have to consider what exactly is operating in the deep woods. Both phenomena begin in almost identical settings. Missing 411 cases heavily cluster in remote national parks, specifically near isolated bodies of water, with roughly 20% of recoveries happening in or directly adjacent to a lake or river. Abduction accounts map to the exact same environments, frequently citing shorelines or deep forests as the point of contact. Once the target is in that remote location, the environment shifts. 33% of missing 411 searches are immediately blocked by abrupt, severe weather, sudden fog banks, or unseasonal snowstorms. This mirrors the dense, sudden electrical mist frequently reported by witnesses right before an abduction occurs. Then there is the lack of physical traces. Hikers who vanish in muddy or snow-covered terrain often leave absolutely no footprints behind, baffling trained trackers. Abductees describe a similar physical bypass, recounting being lifted by beams or levitating to crafts without creating any ground disturbance. The initial stage of both phenomena seems perfectly calibrated. It isolates the target geographically, uses sudden weather to block outside visibility, and erases any physical evidence of their exit. The data shows highly specific target profiles. Both phenomena disproportionately affect vulnerable populations, specifically young children and the elderly. And the timing is precise. A high concentration of these vanishings happens during the specific window between noon and 8 p.m. Exactly when the event starts, human technology fails. Electronic devices, smartphones, and standard magnetic compasses are frequently reported malfunctioning or dying completely in both missing 411 zones and active abduction sites. This chart shows the effectiveness of search and rescue dogs. While standard canine units have high success rates in normal rescues, in these specific wilderness cases, there is an extraordinary 81% failure rate. Highly trained bloodhounds will hit the edge of a search grid, refuse to track, or lose the scent entirely. This extreme canine reaction lines up with one of the most common details in UFO literature. Witnesses frequently report that local animals go completely silent or display extreme, irrational terror right as an abduction event begins. The event phase neutralizes humanity's two best tools for navigation and survival: our external devices and our symbiotic relationship with tracking animals. This map shows the spatial impossibilities of these recoveries. 5 to 11% of bodies are discovered directly in the middle of thoroughly searched grids. This directly mirrors the abduction hallmark of victims returned to the exact spots they were taken. And in both cases, survivors report severe bouts of missing time, hours or entire days that are simply wiped from their memory. When victims are found, their physical condition is highly irregular. They frequently appear at illogical elevations that would be nearly impossible to reach on foot. Often, clothing is entirely removed, neatly folded nearby the site, or found turned completely inside out. The survivors share a distinct psychological trauma. They are usually found in a state of profound disorientation, suffering from a specific metallic taste, and a deep amnesia that sometimes requires years or clinical hypnosis to surface. The physical evidence left behind in the aftermath defies standard search and recovery logic. The pattern points away from accidental wandering and toward an external, controlling force. With these twin timelines established, investigators are split into two deeply opposed camps, the rationalists and the proponents. This diagram illustrates the skeptical hypothesis. On the left, it shows a phenomenon called paradoxical undressing. This is a final stage of severe hypothermia, where a freezing person mistakenly feels a burning sensation and strips off their clothes. Rationalists argue this explains the clothing anomalies, while standard search grid flaws account for bodies turning up in previously cleared areas. The proponent hypothesis looks at the data that conventional science struggles to categorize. It points to the persistent reports of bright lights, hovering orbs, and telepathic voices recorded right at the edge of these disappearance zones. Faced with these statistical impossibilities and a decades-long systemic silence from government agencies, longtime park investigators and data analysts have increasingly shifted their focus. Many now argue that these wilderness vanishings are directly linked to interdimensional activity or UFO encounters. Whether these 25 overlaps prove the existence of an extraordinary non-human intelligence or simply expose a profound psychological blind spot in how humans process extreme environments, one fact remains. The wilderness is hiding a highly structured, repeating pattern, and we are just the data points.